Alrighty, thanks everyone for coming today. My name's... thanks everyone for coming today. My name's Matt, and with me is Nick, and we are at Collective Shift, so Australia's largest provider of market research on the crypto space. So here today to cover all things happening in 2025. Obviously the crypto space these days is a lot bigger than when we started, so we'll try to get into covering the Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana outlook for next year, and then also some key trends that we're covering as well.
So I'm really excited to talk about the topic on everyone's lips. Bitcoin about to hit 100,000, hopefully. Who knows, may happen today. But I think the story of 2024 has been characterized by the immense demand for Bitcoin that I'm sure a lot of the market has probably underappreciated in the grand scheme of things. We can see MicroStrategy actually in this month promising a $42 billion package and new investment into Bitcoin. We're seeing large public companies start to invest in Bitcoin, and we're seeing even private companies and a lot of people take up what's called a Bitcoin standard and adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet, adding a lot of demand to Bitcoin. We can really see it with this chart here. A lot of people underestimate just the demand that's flooding into Bitcoin at the moment. This is a graph that plots the ETF total flows over that red line. And what that red line means is it's the amount of Bitcoin entering circulation each day. So we can see it's about $40 million, assuming a $90,000 Bitcoin price. And we can see that, hey, it's actually pretty small in the grand scheme of things. And if we were to add the $42 billion worth of Bitcoin that MicroStrategy will start to accumulate in the next few years, I don't think you'll even be able to see that red line. And a really good graphic here just shows that it's about 216,000 Bitcoin that has been scooped up. A lot of that has actually been scooped up in the last few months by MicroStrategy alone. So we have to understand that, hey, Bitcoin's a scarce asset, and there are big companies and institutions that are coming into this market.
And of course, things have been going really well recently for price, as many of you would know. Probably the most common question I've been getting today is like, when does this top out in this cycle? That's what everyone's wondering, and really, it's quite it's quite scary in a way, or just how similar this cycle has gone compared to last. So on the slides at the moment is Bitcoin's all-time high compared to its previous cycle low, and as we can see, almost to the day, in terms of a bit over 1,000 days was when the previous Bitcoin price sort of topped out for its cycle. And as you can see there, where we're at the moment, a bit over 700 days since the cycle lows around when FTX collapsed, we're really much at the same point as the last two market cycles.
So I don't know about you, but the topic on everyone's lips, I know from discussions in the market and just from our membership community, is can Ethereum rebound? The market has been characterized by a lack of Ethereum movement in the market. Now, a lot of people are wondering, is Ethereum dead? Should people rotate out? Does Ethereum, can it survive in the market? So we're going to present probably the bull case here of why it could, and then Matt's going to help deliver maybe a fact check here and an understanding of it might not actually work out this way. So an important thing to consider is that, hey, Ethereum has actually delivered a lot of its roadmap. So a big focus has just been scaling Ethereum, and that's what happened on its mainnet upgrade in March of this year. A big focus on scaling, and hey, the graphic shows here that the cost to use Ethereum-like networks has moved almost to zero. It's subset, so it's starting to compete with the likes of Solana on a per cost basis. But what this means now is that, hey, Ethereum is starting to scale. Now it's going to start to focus on other areas of its roadmap and to try to compete with Solana, Sui, and a lot of these newer blockchains that are starting to challenge its market share. At Dankun, this past, in DevCon actually, the big focus here was on something called Beam Chain. Essentially, this will be trying to put the focus back on Ethereum mainnet so that it can actually start to compete. A lot of people may be confused that, hey, this is a new thing, but if we look at the Ethereum Foundation annual treasury report, they've been spending about 25%, 30, 33% just on their foundation budget on the L1 and to try to scale the L1. So for me, this is what the next few years is going to characterize for Ethereum. Can it actually start to improve the L1 to make it on par with an experience like Solana? A lot of people concerned, is it dead? Is it dead? A few graphics here show there's a lot of hope in the market. that, hey, Ethereum still has a high market share in things like real-world assets, things like stablecoins, and then things like developers. So these are non-trivial things, and this is a core reason why I think a lot of people are still paying attention to Ethereum, and it would be tough to discount it because it still leads in a lot of other metrics that perhaps Solana may not. And of course, there's still L2s that are building on Ethereum. So I would probably be concerned if you didn't have the likes of Coinbase, the likes of Sony, the likes of Kraken building on Ethereum. I think if we see a reversing of these trends and companies not look to Ethereum, then this would mean that Ethereum would start to get in some trouble. So a lot of hope though that a lot of people still want to build on Ethereum, which is a big takeaway. A lot of people may discount.
In terms of the bearish case for Ethereum heading into 2025, the real challenges at the moment in particular has been sort of the investment case for, I suppose, ETH, the actual cryptocurrency itself. We've had the effectiveness of the Denkun upgrade, as Nick just went over before. It's been, I guess, done as designed in terms of making it so cheap. But we've actually now got the scarcity properties of ETH actually now taking a hit. So for people who were really getting excited about the moneyness qualities of ETH, that's really taken a hit with the effectiveness of Denkun. So now we've sort of got, you can see on your screen there, an identity crisis for Ethereum, for lack of a better term. Arguably that's too strong of language, but we've sort of got ETH stuck in between being something like Bitcoin, which has all the moneyness characteristics and qualities, but then we've also got higher performance blockchains that have been coming out recently. Obviously Solana, Sui, and some others that we'll get to, where they are just a lot more performant and can do transactions and host transactions for a lot cheaper and a lot faster for end users. So for Ethereum moving forward, our outlook is that it's going to struggle to really get out of this funk that it's in terms of its identity. And then heading into next year, we still see the competitive threat from rival chains really be a factor that will weigh on the outlook for ETH. But absolutely in the longer term, Ethereum overall is still the one we're most confident on in terms of an actual smart contract blockchain, which Ethereum still leads in many regards.
So of course Ethereum's leading, but a big challenger has really taken market share, and that's Solana. So a lot of people will probably be wondering whether that can continue its momentum heading into 2025. At a high level, I think yes. It is be a question of how big those, I think, price appreciation is in retrospect, given how high it has risen up the market cap. So Solana Firedancer, it's a new client that is going to go live on the Ethereum mainnet sometime in 2025. So if anyone doesn't know what a client is, essentially it's just software that helps people interact with Solana and helps it run and make sure the network stays up, importantly. So it only has one of these. So if there's a bug that happens on Solana, essentially it's kind of a single central threat here, a single cause of failure. With this new client that's going to go live called Firedancer, it just means that it's a new implementation. So if there's any more bugs, anything that happens, then they have a new, better client that can help stabilize the network. And this has been a real concern for Solana in the past. Solana has gone down. It was a bit of a meme, and a lot of people like to hate on it for that reason. But it's just the natural evolution of, I guess, a new technology that it does have downtime. Sui experienced a little bit of downtime the last couple days, but this new client is going to make Solana more performant. It's going to increase its decentralization by reducing some of the costs to participate as a validator on the network. And it's going to importantly increase the security and resilience so these periods of downtime are no longer such a major issue, and that'll help bring Solana a lot more legitimacy in the market. Because after all, these things secure billions of dollars of value, and they just simply can't go down. So this is going to really increase Solana's performance in the market. And as I said, it's been a big theme of 2024. We've seen important metrics like real economic value. This is the amount of value that's on the chain and then can get distributed back to network validators. This has been increasing and hitting new highs. We've seen things like DEX volume, total transactions. All these important metrics have been going up, and we probably anticipate that to continue in 2025 for Solana.
And of course, as we said, there's dozens of smart contract blockchains these days. The story of 2024 in many ways has been, yes, Solana, but also there's been a big group of smart contract blockchains that have been all very close together at the start of this year. In our opinion, Sui has clearly broken away from that sort of glut of competitors, and we sort of see it going Ethereum, quite a big gap to Solana, and then quite a big gap to Sui, and then quite a big gap to all of the others. So our outlook for Sui is quite bullish heading into next year. We still have our sort of long-term sort of unanswered questions about these sort of chains in terms of whether they can materially differentiate. Happy to get into that sort of after our talk. But of course, there's a lot of others like Bearer Chain, Monad will go live very soon, both of those. And then Aptos, we're still monitoring, whether that can even catch back up to Sui.
So now looking away from these layer one blockchains, let's look at key narratives that are really defining the market. Crypto AI has been a really hot narrative that has propelled the market higher, and a lot of these AI coins really move in lockstep with traditional developments in the traditional AI sector. Whenever NVIDIA, OpenAI, these big tech conglomerates, whenever they announce some real big innovation, the crypto market has been quite immature in this aspect that a lot of people then look to the crypto market to get access or to try to get crypto exposure to this industry. That's something that should only continue in 2025. I'm probably not expecting the pace to slow down in traditional, AI circles. You're probably going to see things like your Siri, your Alexa, your Google Assistant probably be better and actually become good, assistants. And then we're going to see things like GPT-5. We're probably going to see a lot more AI agents. So these are core narratives that could then help crypto AI projects kind of catch this narrative. And as I got the image here, kind of ride the wave higher into this, AI narrative.
And of course, we're at that stage of the bull market now where meme coins are really, well, as a sector, sort of their highest ever sort of level of dominance as a percentage of the overall crypto market cap. As you can see on your screen there, we've actually come such a far way if you're talking about meme coins as a percentage of the top 200 by ranking on the likes of CoinGecko. So that chart there sort of has a lot of top signals about it. In our opinion, the meme coin sector is still going to keep growing heading into next year, but just a really, word of warning, it is like the highest risk category in what is already a very, very risky asset class, that is cryptocurrencies. So I think speculation will go into overdrive. It arguably already has. A lot of them will lose value by 95% in the bear market. But between now and the end of the bull market, which is into 2025, we expect this chart to actually, the bottom bar there, continue to grow, but only temporarily. And of course, we just don't have enough time to sort of get into all the sectors. As we said, since we started working in this space, for me, 2017, I've seen just so many sectors grow up out of nowhere. We've got the likes of DeSci, DePIN now going to be hot narratives next year, but happy to discuss those after or in the Q&A coming up. When we're talking about 2025 for the crypto market, we really have to pay attention to the macro environment. So that's part of what we do as well at Collective Shift. The takeaway message for all of you today is, a big reason why we're so confident Bitcoin will go higher next year and the market more broadly is just the environment is a lot more favorable now for cryptocurrencies and risky assets to thrive. So liquidity conditions are improving. This will only continue in our opinion. We got rates that have started to be cut. So we saw in the US in September, Federal Reserve cut rates for the first time in 3 or 4 years. And the likes of Australia is still kicking the can a bit. But the takeaway is rates are expected to keep falling throughout 2025. And that is, again, only good news for risk assets such as cryptocurrencies. If I had to sort of have one sort of catalyst I'm monitoring in terms of whether we might have a bit more of a muted bull market next year or a bit of a short-term sort of a bit of a sell-off, one thing I'm really monitoring closely is inflation. If we get a re-emergence of inflation into next year, that could really, impact the outlook of rates falling. And that can really then head into being quite negative for overall, the stock market in general, and then also cryptocurrencies. So if inflation does come back, I'd be pretty concerned, or at least lowering my expectations of how euphoric and crazy this bull market could get.
So outside of, the macro as being a core driver of the market, arguably the biggest unanswered questions will be just the impact of a Trump presidency. He made a lot of crypto promises. It was a key theme for him to try and get the crypto vote on board. So essentially, will he deliver? That's the question on everyone's lips. So one of the key promises here that he talked about was holding the Bitcoin undersupplied by the US government. Now, I'm not sure how many of you guys think the US government holds a Bitcoin, but it's probably a bit more than you might think. So it's about 1% of the total Bitcoin supply. Now we saw how hard the market panicked over Germany, who started to sell their Bitcoin on the market. This triggered a lot of fear. So being able to restrict 1% of the Bitcoin not being sold for a 4-year period, that's a huge amount of supply that is going to be dormant in the market. So this can't be underrated enough. And then we got things like the Bitcoin Reserve Act. So there's been a lot of speculation. Will the US government start buying Bitcoin? This is a thing I think everyone in this room would love to see. Whether it's going to be a reality, I think we might hold our breath here. If you're hoping for the US government to start buying Bitcoin in hopes for that big rally, I would issue a bit of caution here. It's a really difficult thing to probably pass, but no doubt it would mark probably the biggest moment in crypto history, if it were to happen. So I'd be a bit cautious on this one. I would just be happy to see them not move the 1% of Bitcoin that's currently under management by the US government. So another key promise, will he fire the SEC chair, Gary Gensler? He actually got his biggest cheer from the crowd at Bitcoin 2024 for promising this. And this looks like he might not even have to do it. It looks like Gary Gensler is going to resign anyway. This is a huge deal because the SEC has been extremely hostile to cryptocurrencies in the US. His removal would mean that there's going to be a pro-crypto SEC chair at the helm. And it's also going to mean that possibly we could see 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5 of these SEC commissioners who will start to vote in favor of pro-crypto policies there at the SEC or actions. So this is huge for the market because it's resulted in things like Choke Point 2.0. Choke Point 2.0 is essentially the US government restricting access to lending for crypto businesses. So if you were a crypto business last year or this year, you couldn't actually probably get a bank account or even operate a crypto product that you wanted to launch. This is extremely underrated, and as Mark Adrenison says here from A16Z, he says we can actually build products now. This is really underrated in the market. Not a lot of people realize that a lot of big businesses were not launching crypto products because of this regulatory uncertainty. A lot of smart people weren't able to launch products in the market, and now 2025 is going to happen, and we're going to see a lot more token launches. So I expect a lot of big businesses to not be afraid to launch crypto products now, especially in the US. And this just comes back to making the US home to crypto, which he said on multiple occasions here. One I'm personally looking forward to is the removal of something called SAB 121. Essentially, this restricts banks in the US from custodying cryptocurrency on behalf of their customers. There's a good poll here that says that, hey, a good 80% of people over the age of 40 would actually bank crypto with the traditional banking infrastructure and providers. Now, this unlocks a huge amount of capital into the space because unfortunately, it's really tough to self-custody your cryptocurrency, and writing down a 24-word seed phrase is not for everyone. And this could unlock a lot of capital to safely enter the market if you can just go to your JP Morgans and give them your Bitcoin. It's not always us against them. Some may think it's that way, but it's going to unlock a lot of potential in the market.
Yeah, and even with all those restrictions that Nick has just said, the environment we've been in, or at least particularly in the US, and all this uncertainty globally, even with that said, we've actually still had quite strong fintech adoption in 2024. Notably, just last month or in September, Stripe, a leading payments company, it was a record acquisition in the industry's history. So yeah, acquiring a stablecoin company essentially, and really marking their push into the stablecoin space. There's rumors, of course, that the likes of Robinhood and Revolut are preparing to launch their own stablecoins. So you'll continue to see a lot more about that into next year. And the likes of ANZ working with Chainlink and many other experiments with some of the fintechs. So that's let alone all of the other sort of banking adoption that we could see, as Nick alluded to as well.
So a final one here is looking at the kind of meme that has been worthless governance tokens in the US. So we talked a lot about there's going to be more regulatory clarity. A lot of people are probably not going to be afraid to start attributing their tokens value. And this is probably, if I could sum up the crypto industry in one meme, this is probably it. So if you're a founder, a token pool you've got right here, you can push the button to give your crypto token utility and value, direct revenue back to token holders and fees, or you can not do that, not be scared that you're not going to be persecuted by the SEC, but that results in not giving your token really any fundamental value, which has resulted in what's called kind of governance meme, where these DeFi tokens don't actually give you much, really. So we're seeing a lot more cryptocurrencies turn on what's called a fee switch, and this is going to give protocol revenue back to the treasury and then back to token holders. So this could unlock a lot more use cases for crypto tokens, a lot more reason to hold them, and gives them actual revenues to justify their very big valuations. And of course, not all cryptocurrency protocols are revenue generating. So we have a few here on the screen that actually generate significant amounts or decent amounts of tangible revenue. This is only a few, really. A lot of the cryptocurrency protocols out there won't actually have any revenue to share back to token holders. So this is going to create maybe a terrible death spiral for some of them, because they're going to be having to justify these huge valuations, but if they don't have the revenue to justify it, then I'm not sure how that's going to go for their token price and their total market cap. I'm not sure if anyone's seen Silicon Valley here. It's a popular TV show back, I think, 2010s. They have a really good scene here where it's actually better to be pre-revenue than it is to be revenue generating. Because when you're not generating any revenue, you can promise a lot, and you don't really have to back it up. But once these things start to generate revenue, you kind of get to say, hey, these things don't really justify the amount of revenue for a $32 billion crypto token. And this is what can place a lot of pressure on these tokens. And really, the quality will only start to emerge, I think, once we start to get more revenue generating to token holders.
All right, I have time for one question. I'll just quickly recap. Outlook very strong for 2025, of course. Ethereum still going to be stuck in between for at least the very short term. Solana still to keep dominating all the other smart contract blockchains that are emerging. I think Sui is still ahead of the rest of the pack after Solana. Macro looking very favorable at the moment. Just keep an eye on inflation. And of course, can Trump deliver on his promises? And more importantly, what are the actual details of those promises, particularly with the likes of the Bitcoin Reserve Act, which the market still doesn't really know. So we'll have some time for some Q&A. We've got 2.5 minutes. Just a show of hands, and I might just find someone question. We do a lot of we live and breathe crypto here at Collective Shift. We've got a team of analysts who just provide commentary on the market, individual projects, and we love sort of taking our members through the journey of bull market and bear market opportunities in both. Scan the QR code up on your screen there to get on a strategy call to learn more about our offering. And of course, on the left of your screen as well, there's a QR code for a free 10-step strategy guide. Just in case our stuff wasn't valuable today, we're confident that will be.
Hey guys, thank you so much. It was a good speech from you guys. I've got a question. Now with the euphoric stage, we're kind of heading into the market over the next couple of months. What do you think the total crypto market cap will head to? And my second question as well is, we've seen so much popularity around the Bitcoin ETF. I've seen that there may be a possibility of a Solana ETF. Would the traction into the Solana ETF be as big as the Bitcoin ETF? From your thoughts as well.
I think the global combined market cap, I think at the moment it's in the mid sort of threes, US dollars, 3.3 trillion. That's one I don't follow as closely in terms of an outlook. I'm more focused on Bitcoin targets and ETH targets, Solana. But overall, I think there has been sort of a meme or that psychologically significant $10 trillion mark, which I think we can get to this cycle. I think one thing that you've got to watch is also stablecoin adoption. That sort of props up the global market cap. But I think 10 trillion before we then go into the next bear market is definitely on the cards. And I would struggle to see it going too much further than 10 trillion in this bull market, so ending next year.
And just to answer your second question, essentially it was asking about the potential for Solana ETFs in the market. Will they see the heights of the Bitcoin one, if I'm not mistaken? It's a really interesting one, because we saw the Ethereum ETF get some lackluster reception, really. But a lot of that, I think, has been due to the inability for staking products to be offered alongside the ETF, because it just means that you're not getting the upside, or you're possibly getting diluted for your Solana. So I would think staking would be necessary for the Solana ETF to see real solid volume and adoption, because as we see with Ethereum, without it, you're losing to dilution, and it's better off just staking yourself, which I think a lot of people have in the market. So hopefully we see it. I think it's a lot more likely now that we've got a pro-crypto SEC and Trump on board to see this happen in the market next year. I think that's all for our questions. Thank you everyone for listening. And if you have any other questions, see us after the show, after this, or at our booth over there.